It's not going well, but it's going. This book has been hard to write. I've learned so much. Let's finish Project Spigeltent today. Hello everyone and welcome back to another vlog. That was my knee cracking. I think before we get into it, I think I've messed up my porridge somehow. It's been a really long time since I've made porridge on the stove. Maybe it's because I'm using quick oats, but the consistency was just weird. So I added a lot of milk at the end. We're fine. It's gonna be delicious. So today is hopefully, I'm pretty sure it will be, but let's just hopefully, going to be a really momentous day because today is the day that we're going to be finishing draft 1 of Project Spigeltent. So for anyone who's new here, hello, my name is Christy. I am a writer. I'm currently working on a novel which is going by the alias of Project Spigeltent. This particular novel has been like pulling teeth. It's been the novel that I've been working on while I've been on submission with my last novel, Project Teacup. I got a literary agent for that novel in 2023. The editing process took a really long time. We went on submission at the end of last year. That last novel was a huge project. It took me many years writing that novel, going through the querying process, going through submission, all this kind of stuff. I've been trying to work on the next novel, Project Spigeltent, that entire time. I came up with the concept for Spigeltent back in 2020 when I was still working in the arts. It is a arty, gothic, circusy, performing arts, silly stuff, magical story. I still don't really know what it is. But the process of writing this novel has been unlike anything I've ever written before. It has been absolutely like pulling teeth. The whole experience has been fraught and difficult, and I think that it's been a really good, I'm trying to look for positives here, guys. It's been a really good practice in done is better than perfect, and today, draft 1 will be the most opposite of perfect it could possibly be, but it will be done. Let's finish Project Spigeltent today. I'm really excited. I'd like to go out writing somewhere pretty in the sunshine. It is currently autumn here. However, it's like 32 degrees today for some reason. Don't really understand what's going on with that. I have some quick admin stuff to do today, but aside from that, it's going to be fully a writing day. So let's hop over to my desk. The plan for today is to get through the very last chapter of Project Spigeltent. Now, why has Project Spigeltent been such a pain in the butt? My partner Tyler were going on a walk last night and I was talking about how difficult this has been, and he basically said, like, what I found interesting about you writing Spigeltent compared to the other stuff you've written is that it seems to me, as in it seems to him, like I've done a lot less planning than I normally do. And that in a way is very true. I've got like these really cool settings and I've got these kinds of vague ideas of scenes. Project Teacup needed a bit of rearranging in the middle to get the pacing right. Now I'm really confident with the pacing of the story now, but it just took a lot of work. All of the character stuff and all of the mysteries, and there were so many threads and there were so many things and it all hinged on each other, but to actually take a really complex windy plot and move things takes a lot of work. And for a novel that's 120,000 words, the amount of stuff you need to remember and the number of times you need to reread it and reread it and reread it to get it right, it's just... This past book it just took everything from me creatively. It was really hard. It took a lot out of me, and 100% that's the reason why I have writer's block on Project Spigeltent. It's because I had nothing left in the tank, but I also am kind of aware that I just need to rip the band-aid off and get through this new novel. And so I decided, rather than messing around with trying to plot everything perfectly, I was just going to get started. And I feel like as of yesterday, I kind of have the first glimmer of what could be cool and special about this novel, and that's like basically at like the 45,000 word mark. Like finally I feel like I've kind of unlocked what might make this really special and really strong. So for Project Spigeltent, I've probably written around 100,000 words total. Now on the current first draft, zero draft, whatever you want to call it, it is very rough. I now finally feel like I have a kind of idea of what I need to do, and I just feel a little bit shell-shocked out of of the last novel because I'm trying to take what I've learned and extrapolate that into this new story. And I need to write the 13th chapter, and it's gonna be rough and it's gonna be fine. But before we do that, I actually need to do some final little admin things for my merch. The day that you watch this vlog, the merch is going to be going live, which means that now you guys can go if you want and click on the link to the DFTBA store. Finally, for the first time ever, we have merch available, which is so cool. And I'm so excited to be bringing you merch. So we have two designs. We have this beautiful strong man who likes to read, and we have the bookworm here, this wyvern. So basically, I'm gonna be really honest with you guys. I have been having an identity crisis when it comes to my illustration. And then during Christmas, I actually spoke to my sister-in-law, whose name is Hyemin. She's a very talented illustrator. I'll show her Instagram here. I have ended up commissioning Hyemin to help me with the merch. We went back and forth. It was a very, very collaborative process. I did the original sketches, I picked the color palettes, I kind of art directed it, but really this is Hyemin's handiwork. She did such an amazing job, and so I could not be happier. I could not be more grateful to Hyemin for what she did in helping out with the merch. If you guys want to go and check it out, there's a link in the description down below. And yeah, please feel free to go and check that out. So I actually need to just send a couple little emails off about that. Everything's ready to go, but I just have a small copy change on the website for the listing, so I need to type that out and send that email. So I'm going to quickly do that, then we can head off to Muscovado. So I headed off to Muscovado on this lovely sunny day. I've been to Muscovado so many times, so if you've watched a lot of my vlogs, you will have seen this place before. I was having a little bit of trouble though, getting a table where I could comfortably work. Now I feel like this is a beautiful metaphor for how Project Spigeltent has been going. So I started off at that first table, which was really, really rickety and kind of had a stool, so the seat didn't have a back to it. And then I moved over to this particular bench, and the whole time I was watching out for one of the two tables that had proper seating but was also in the shade. I must have looked a little bit insane to the people who were sitting here because I kept getting up and moving, but I was determined to find a comfortable place to work. Also, this magpie was beautifully noisy. She was having a lovely day too and wanted to be heard. I did eventually get up from this spot because someone else left their table. I cleared that, I moved, and we were good. I could sit down and concentrate. And so the way that Spigeltent has been going has been unlike any other story I've written, and I can kind of anticipate comments being like, Christy, maybe this isn't the right project. Maybe you need to work on something else. Maybe you need to chase the muses. And the thing is that for me, it just doesn't work that way. This is the project I'm working on, and basically it is just a difficult project. I've sat in front of this thing and I've tried to plot it out. I've tried to do the planning, and that didn't work very well. And then I also sat down and tried to just discover, rewrite everything and just like not think about it and not try to overplot that. And that's also not gone very well. And so I think this particular project is just a wonderful, again, I'm trying to be positive, a wonderful excuse to learn more about myself, to learn more about my process, to build up that creative resilience, because you're not going to be firing on all cylinders every day, and not every project is going to feel the same, not every project is going to be easy. And personally for me, I feel like the things that are easy are not the things that are necessarily going to push myself. They're not the stories that are going to help me grow as a writer. I was so lucky to get so much amazing feedback out of my last novel, and basically what I want to do is take all of that learning from the last novel and use that to make this next book as good as possible. I'm kind of playing chess with myself, and I'm like, okay, no, you can't do that because 4 steps from here you'll go this way, and I don't think we should go that way. And it's this kind of thing where I think I've just learned more about how I write stories. So I'm kind of, maybe I'm getting in my own way a little bit, but I'm trying to find the best way to write this story. I'm just finding that I'm working on this story in smaller snippets, and the snippets have been a lot harder. It's taken a lot more brute force, but I really do think that in doing this first draft, this rough draft, I'm getting down the story, I'm putting down that rough sketch, I'm kind of building up an idea of what this could be. I have some really exciting plans for this novel. I want it to be fun, I want it to be whimsical and magical and balance some silly fun things with some very serious things, and I'm kind of working out how to do that. And again, the voice is just very, very different. And so I don't want to sound like I'm whinging a lot in this vlog, but the honest truth is just that this whole process has been really tough, and that's fine. That's just the process of writing this particular novel. So yeah, this first draft of Project Spigeltent has been an interesting time. You know, I spent a lot of last year trying to get started and failing over and over and over again, and I've kind of written this proper first draft in about, I want to say 2.5 months, maybe since January, maybe 3 months is how long it's taken, but we are getting there, you guys. I managed to write maybe 700 or 800 words during this particular session. I didn't write quite as much as I had have wanted, mostly because I was playing musical chairs at the beginning there and contending with a really loud magpie, but aside from that, we did manage to get some decent words down, and I was fairly happy with my progress. And it's always nice to get out of the apartment and to just sit outside in the breeze, in the fresh air, with lots of trees around and nature and stuff. And yes, we did about 700 to 800-ish words here. Hello, hi, we're home. I wrote, actually I probably already told you in the voiceover, but I wrote 800, about 800 words I think is what I wrote. Look, I have such mixed feelings about this book. Like I really am quite struggling. Things are going well because it's not Project Teacup, it's set in the real world, and I do think that I prefer secondary world fantasies. Like I love the world building. I love politics and research and doing all of these interesting things with the world. And I think because Project Teacup is like my heart book, it's so close to me still, and those characters are so real to me, and that book means so much to me. And we're on submission. I can't say anything. We're on submission. I got no news. Every now and then someone messages me and asks, and I'm so sorry, I do not have news. It's fine. But basically that book is so close to my heart, but I just, from a creative perspective, really wanted to rip off the band-aid and do Project Spigeltent, and it's been an important challenge for me. And I'm very much a creative person where every time I do a new project, I want to do something really different to the last one, but I haven't had 8 drafts with Project Spigeltent yet. I've only had the first draft, and you know, I felt kind of crappy about Project Teacup after the first draft, because first drafts for me are always very scrappy and they're not anything like what the final draft is going to look like. I think Project Spigeltent more so than Project Teacup. I'm rambling. It's time for me to make lunch. On the weekend, I made kabuli polo and this kind of like lime salad. It was delicious. I posted about it to Instagram and a bunch of people were asking me for the recipe, but the recipe is from the Pawana cookbook, and so I was like, I can't just like take a picture and share it because this is someone else's book. It took like 2.5 hours and I got really stressed, and I made the rice kind of gluggy by accident, but it was delicious. And thank God Tyler cleaned up the kitchen for me, because by the time 2.5 hours was over, I was like, I'm done. I was exhausted. And Tyler was like, how do you make the kitchen so messy? Kind of like cartoonish. And then you'll just find random stuff in places. I'll end up putting the rice in the fridge or like the milk in the dishwasher. Like God, like Anyway, I have some stuff to make a kind of more simple version of the kabuli polo I made from this book. So I'm just gonna basically make rice. I've already got the chicken pre-made. I'm just gonna do the toppings and some salad. And never mind that this coriander is starting to look pretty wilted. It's not going well, but it's going. I think I need to go back through and do a couple of things. It's not quite done yet. I think one of the lightning bolt moments that I've had with this story is that I think I need to change the main character. So originally, because with this novel, I wanna have this like really beautiful, vibrant, I don't know if I want to call it a portal fantasy, but it's a speculative novel set in the real world. And so I want to have all these really cool fun things going on, but in addition to doing that, I would like to explore art and the arts and who gets to be an artist and all of these things. And as I've mentioned many times in videos, I'm really interested in economics. I have a commerce degree. When I started working in the arts, the way that some people privileged on the basis of finance and education levels and how that is all intertwined, I find that really fascinating and really important. With this main character, I kind of wanted to explore maybe someone who came from a lot of money and believed in the idea of the struggling artist and the idea that you had to struggle in order to be creative, and guilt around privilege. I thought that would be a really interesting thing, but now I'm kind of struggling because in this world that we're currently in, with the cost of living crisis being so I need to actually sit up. The phrase, like, when the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, is literally true, because hello, this is just me talking about the economy for like 15 minutes because I'm actually procrastinating from finishing the end of draft 1 of Project Spigeltent. Don't mind me, very naturally getting off task here. Back to the video. Yeah, I love economics. I like examining these kinds of things, and it's the type of thing where it's like, I want my story to be fun and speculative and engaging first. That's the first goal, in my opinion. When a story or a TV show puts the themes first before it being engaging, you can always feel it, and it always feels a bit trite. Basically, this is a really windy way for me to say, originally I had this main character be super duper wealthy, and maybe what I'll just do instead in draft 2 is make her like really comfortably middle class, like she's gone to a really nice school, but maybe she didn't go skiing when she was 7, right? Like, what I want for her is for her to go on a journey where she starts working in the arts and she realizes that actually money does play a really big role here, and the thought processes that she had at the beginning are different towards the end. She does come from an amount of financial privilege. I just don't want to make her cartoonishly rich, and I'm having fun trying to interrogate this, thinking like, okay, well, someone who's never been on welfare, someone who's never had to want for things, someone who's never had to have purchasing anxiety, what does that feel like? Like, what does that person, how does that person think about education? How does that person think about buying things? That person, when they go to the grocery store to buy food, what is that like for them to not have to mentally calculate, or to have had the experience of mentally calculating the price of everything? So yeah, just musings. This book has been hard to write. I'm gonna go back to it. We're gonna try for another half an hour, and then I might have a break and make some more tea. Hello, I feel like I just keep popping in and out during this vlog. I don't know how many cups of tea I'm on. I thought I only had like 200 words-ish left. That wasn't true. I think I now only have maybe like an hour's left of work, but I'm tired and I'm determined to finish today. I'm determined for this to be the last day that I'm working on draft 1 of this novel. And as I've said, like, it's been pulling teeth. I am starting to feel really excited for draft 2, but I'm definitely going to give myself a proper break in between draft 1 and draft 2 of this story. Every time I start a new book, I learn my process anew, and I learn a little bit more about what I need to do as a writer. But anyway, I'm tired. It's been a big day. I've worked really hard. It's now 10:08 p.m. I'm all done with writing, and I finished draft 1 of Project Spigeltent. I deleted a bunch of notes from the end of the document because I cut some stuff out today that was just unnecessary, took out the notes, took out like the last little bits and bobs that like weren't actually the story, because when I'm in the middle of writing, I'll just like dump notes onto, or at least when I'm in the beginning of a first draft, I'll just dump notes down, delete them all. And we have ended up at 44,000 words for the first draft of this novel, which is tiny. And like, it's killing me because, again, the last novel I worked on was 120,000 words, and for me to write that story in the voice that that story's written in, which by the end was very clean prose, a very strong voice, it knew exactly what it was really easy for me to write a lot of words quickly in that voice. Like, by the end of me drafting that, I could easily write 3,000 words in a day and have the prose come out clean, like minimal editing. I don't know, with the first draft, I don't get to really focus on any of the fun bits, the bits that I find fun, like making the prose pretty or coming up with a fun metaphor, because I'm still working out like what the metaphors are going to be. I'm slowly learning about my main character and finding out who she is. Even though I will loosely plot a novel, I do very much discovery write characters. Like so much of the last novel, the dynamics between the characters, I didn't go in deciding, because like, sorry, you're gonna get a lot of comparison with Project Teacup here, because I'm trying to like analyze the way that I work. So for Project Teacup, our sort of like main, so we have two main characters for Project Teacup, but our sort of like main four characters, I didn't know what their dynamics between them were going to be until I found out their personalities, and I couldn't find out their personalities until I wrote the book. And then obviously what's gonna happen in the plot is gonna depend on how these characters naturally have conflict with each other or don't have conflict with each other. And so for me, it's this kind of chicken or the egg thing where I have these people together, and it's only once I get to know them that I understand what decisions make logical sense. And so it's the same thing for Project Spigeltent. All of this is to sandbag and say 44,000 words is a really short first draft for me, but I am proud of myself that I have ripped off that first draft, because really the 44,000 words there is mostly the A plot of the story. Draft 1 of Project Spigeltent is done. Thank goodness. Thank goodness for that. I'm gonna spend the next little while focusing on reading, refilling the creative well, taking some time away. I feel like now I've got draft 1 down, there is a weight off my shoulders, and I'm going to take some time away from this project and then come back with fresh eyes and have a really good critical look at what could this book be. Because again, for me, like, draft 1 of a story is the first 25% of the work. Like for me, like this kind of idea that like, oh, you write the story and then you do mild copy edits and then it's done, like that is just not how I work. I'm sure lots of people work that way, but it is not how I work. And so for me, a lot of the magic is in the iteration, it is in the editing, it's in the fleshing out. I kind of find that, you know, your first ideas aren't always your best ideas, and to be really candid, at some point I will speak about what going on submission has done to my psyche and has done to my rejection sensitivity. Working with a literary agent for over a year now, everything, I've learned so much over the course of the last year, and so I've gotten all of these learnings and I've taken them on board, and trying to write this first draft of Spigeltent has been fraught. It's been really difficult. It's been the hardest thing I've ever written. I have sat here and questioned, is this the right book? Is this the right project? You know, if Project Teacup fails ultimately, is this the book that you want to be your debut? Because Spigeltent is more of an experimental, arty book that probably wouldn't have the commercial reach that a book like the Teacup, I keep almost going to say the real name. I'm doing mental gymnastics trying to work out what the code name for Project Teacup is, I'm sorry. What if this isn't a good idea to be like my first novel? If Teacup fails? What if Teacup fails? All of that emotional baggage has just been weighing on me for months and months and months on end while I've been trying to write this book. I think this novel has very much been written from a place of scarcity, and I think what I need to do for draft 2 is to go away and say, okay, what could this novel be? So this is what the novel is. This is the best you could do with the brain that you had at the time. Let's step away, let's take a break, let's go read a bunch of novels that refill the creative well, let's go do a bunch of research, let's go to the seaside or something for a little bit. Let's eventually come back, replot the story, and think really critically, what is the best version of this that this book could be? You know, what is the boldest idea? What is the most interesting? What is the most exciting? And just go through that process, because that's basically what I did with. We just got Hungry Jack's for dinner, which is Australia's version of Burger King. For some reason it's not called Burger King here, it's called Hungry Jack's here. So basically we got Burger King for dinner. It was great, I loved it. We watched Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I finished Project Spigeltent and I am ready to go to sleep. I am so excited and so happy that we finally have merch available, so please feel free to check that out if that's something you're interested in. I want to say a massive thank you again to Hyemin, my sister-in-law, for all of the help that she she gave me in collaborating on these illustrations. She did such an amazing job. And a final thank you to everyone over on Patreon for supporting my videos, because I also wouldn't be here without the people on Patreon. We have a whole bunch of bonus content, bonus videos, our book club. We're reading Kiki's delivery service for the month of April, which I'm so excited about. I post writing updates over there, so many things over on Patreon. So if you want to check that out, please go ahead and click the link in the description down below. Take care everyone, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.